I'll introduce the Secretary, and as I said earlier, this is a man that needs no introduction. You've probably all read his bio or heard about him. I can say it's all true, and really somebody I've really enjoyed working with, and it's a real privilege for me to work with the Secretary, and having an opportunity to work for somebody that's won a Nobel Prize is something that is, I wouldn't have imagined that in my wildest dreams. You know, what's that like? What kind of questions does he ask you? People say. I said, you don't want to know. I don't always have the answers, but the Secretary is kind and gracious and lets me go find out. I come back. But I've had the opportunity to work with the Secretary for since day one, actually. In fact, the Secretary was kind enough to let me introduce him at his very first meeting, all-hands meeting, with the department the first day of the administration. And it was a real privilege to do that, and it's a privilege to do so today. I've seen him work with the President and the Secretary of Defense and Secretary of State on issues that are very near and important to the mission of the NNSA. I saw firsthand how committed he was to making sure that we had the resources and the direction and the guidance needed to lay out that path, that very well-defined path on making things happen. In fact, our success in our 2011 program and budget that was submitted in early February to Congress was largely due as a result of the Secretary's direct involvement. I thank you, sir, for that. When President Obama nominated the Secretary, he said the future of our economy and national security is inextricably linked to one challenge, and that challenge is energy. Nobody understands this better than Secretary Chu. We've all heard of the word to innovate, or innovate, and innovate really means to make new. And the Secretary is taking a fresh look at the department. He's making a new Department of Energy. He's doing this through revitalizing the sense and purpose and pursuit of scientific innovation and discovery that really is at the core of everything we do in the NNSA, everything we do in our applied energy programs, and everything we do in our science programs. He's also doing this through defining a new clean energy future. And as you heard the Deputy Secretary describe, he's doing this through innovating the way we do business through a set of management reform activities. And with that, it is my great honor and privilege to introduce you, our nation's energy innovator, Dr. Steven Chu. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tom. That was exceedingly generous, probably mostly untrue, but heck. But thank you very much. It's very flattering. And thank you, Dan, for your remarks to the group. I have a bunch of distinguished people. I have to let you know that when the NSA was first formed, the wisdom of the people who helped form it decided they wanted to make an advisory committee. This is when General Gordon was first asked to head up the NSA, and actually I was on the advisory committee since day one, so hello, General Gordon. And then when the general stepped down and Ambassador Brooks took over, you put up with us for a little while. Thank you. Feisty bunch of people. So hello again, and I thank you both for your service to the NSA. I got to know Undersecretary Tauscher when I became head of the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. She was a very good steward of Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, and occasionally I said, couldn't we just draw the districts a little bit over? And but she was such a good supporter of Lawrence Livermore Laboratory that I said, boy, we needed you for us too. So I was trying to get adopted. But well, they didn't, they don't do gerrymandering for scientific reasons. Thank you, Clarence, for being the Master of Ceremonies, and to Representative Thornberry for your leadership in getting this agency started. Well, of course, it wasn't really started 10 years ago. It was started in earnest, I would say, even pre-World War II. I mean, the little outpost at Berkeley Lab, at Brookhaven, I know there were some. I'm just going down. I'm trying to mentally tick down the line, but there are a couple of places. But certainly, it really began in earnest during World War II in the Manhattan Project. And so the NSA has those very deep roots. And from those very deep roots in the Manhattan Project and the labs before, the great scientific reputation of the Department of Energy grew out of that. And so it's something that the nation can look back on. When I brag about the Department of Energy and how it supported the work of more Nobel laureates than any other funding agency in the world, its roots actually came out of the precursor to the NSA, the Department of Energy, and the Manhattan Project. And so I think all of you should be very, very proud of that, even though you're officially only 10 years old, you're 60 years old, as you well know, or 70 years old. I think if I look at the accomplishments only in the last 10 years and look at the things that have been done, the first thing that pops to mind is the extraordinary pioneering work that you did in developing a new generation of high-performance supercomputers in collaboration with commercial vendors. But those supercomputers are now, and the design of those type of supercomputers are now leading the world. I look at other things. I look at the Z machine. I look at DART. I look at NIF. I look at the Mesa Microsystems, the Center for Integrated Nanotechnologies, the highly enriched uranium, the Fort Knox's. These are things that have only happened in the last 10 years. It's a remarkable record. In those first years in the formation of the NSA, I remember, especially after 9/11, I would take these night flights because I was a professor and I had to teach my classes, and I would come in. And after 9/11, I remember saying with our advisory committee to the NSA how important it was to lock down the loose nuclear material. This is 2001 and 2002. And the NSA has led the charge there. We now have a plan that President Obama is leading charge on to say we'll have 4 years that we can lock down all this nuclear material. And it's really heartening from those early days in 2000, 2001 to see, again, the NSA leading the charge in this and to help first the former Soviet Union to return all those materials. The NSA's role in the nuclear propulsion fleet and what it has been doing, again, since the days of Nautilus. Incredible. The critical role today, there's severalfold. First, the main mission, of course, is the stockpile stewardship. But that stockpiled stewardship in a time where we're no longer going to be doing testing requires even more renewed scientific talent and investment. And I was very pleased to see the Department of Defense, the NSC, the Denny Blair's organization, all of these uniformly saying how important it was to make deeper investments in the NSA for that the intellectual horsepower can't be taken for granted and that you really have to make these investments going forward. And it was very heartening. Secretary Gates was, in fact, I was, you were very kind about that, but actually all I had to do was convince Secretary Gates, and I had just stood there and he said how important it was. It was great. And he didn't really have to be convinced, quite frankly. He knew how important the mission was. And but in addition to the stockpile stewardship and the intellectual talent and the infrastructure we need in order to keep that going forward, there are other new roles. The most important new role is the nonproliferation aspects, both securing the material, developing the technologies that can help us better detect, track, and figure out what's really going on, to know when an aluminum tube is an aluminum tube and not something else. All of these things, the NSA has a very proud history, and we are tapped as the technical experts in these areas. And this is partly why all those three-letter agencies have so much faith in us, that we are the technical experts. In In the nuclear posture review, the NNSA played a very intimate role in the shaping of that nuclear posture review and the conclusions. I think Tom played an incredibly important role, as did Dan Poneman, as did many of the people in the NNSA, and so they did an incredible job. In terms of the Nuclear Security Summit, which had over 40 heads of state in the United States that Obama chaired and led during that whole time. He didn't just come in at the beginning, come in at the end. He was there the entire time. And to get 45 plus countries, I'm not sure the exact number, to say nuclear security, even though the Cold War era, where we had tens of thousands of nuclear warheads of both Soviet Union and the United States pointing at each other, those days are mercifully over, but even still today there is an incredible threat, especially the threats of terrorists getting hold of materials that they can fashion into either to a dirty bomb or a bomb that actually explodes. This is something that is very, very serious. To get all those countries to recognize this, and even as the world begins to look towards civilian nuclear power as an energy security option for countries, and also for, in terms of the carbon dioxide emissions, we also have to develop this very safely. And so the NSA is playing a very important role in conjunction with the nuclear energy part of the Department of Energy to make sure that we grow these new industries in a very safe way. Now, the budgets, you all know the numbers. I'm not going to talk about that. I just think it reflects very well on the NSA, the President's budget for FY11, this increase of 9.8% to invest in the nuclear security enterprise. When I became head of the department, I looked at what the NSA budgets were doing, and the science and technology budget, the overall fraction of the budget that went to science and technology, which I regard as the heart of and the core of strengths of the NSA, have been declining, and it was on a 10-year path. It was in the 8th year of a 10-year path that would have halved the budget, the relative budget. And I said, no, this has to stop. You're just giving it away. Because you cannot build back that resource in a few years. So once you lose it, it will take decades to grow back. And I was so happy and started talking with the other agencies that would benefit from this. They said, absolutely right. The non-proliferation budget also, and the naval reactors budget. So I think this is, in summary, I've talked way too long. I was supposed to give Tom 5 of my minutes. But I just wanted, again, to echo the words, what Dan said. This is actually about you, all the people in the NSA, and your service, not only in the last 10 years, but your service over the decades. How important it is, how important it will be going into the future. The fact that other agencies are now looking to the NSA labs for more guidance on many other things outside what formerly was the mission, it speaks so well of the NSA, whether it's for microelectronics or very clever ways of doing this, that, and the other thing, to quite frankly, things like that would have direct bearing on our energy future and our industrial competitiveness. Again, the strengths of the NSA are all going to be used, and so thank you all very much for what you've been doing. Thank you.